Listen, you're not some fantastic unicorn who's great under pressure. That's a bullshit story you're telling yourself. It's Memorial Day weekend, Saturday. The sun is setting, but we still have some nice light. And for once, it is not windy. So let's make a video. What do I want to talk about? To me, the number one sign that something is messed up with your design process is if you routinely come up with solutions to problems at the 11th hour, aka the last minute. So a lot of people have this thing, they work on a project for a while, and then suddenly at the very last minute, they finally have an idea or have a breakthrough, or they finally have a good idea. And what we attribute that to is people go, oh, well, I work well under pressure. And in reality, that's not the truth at all. What actually happens is that what you're doing in the moments, the 24, 48 hours, maybe the 8 hours before that deadline, you're now working differently. Whatever you were doing in the previous 2 weeks or 2 months is different than what you're doing in the moment right before that deadline hits. Part of it is the way you're thinking. So the reason that people suddenly have ideas at that 11th hour is not because they suddenly have ideas. It's that the fear of failure and the adrenaline rush makes you focus, and it makes you realize that you need an answer to this problem, and you finally stop batting aside viable options. You turn off all the bullshit in your brain that tells you an idea is not good enough, an idea is not smart enough, it's not clever enough, it's not innovative enough, it's not traditional enough. In the previous 2 weeks or 2 months, that's what your brain has been doing. And then finally, you have run out of time. Your brain is now scared of failure, so it needs to embrace any idea that gets you through to the end. And so that's the thing that's different, is that adrenaline rush and that fear shuts off the stupid part of your brain that was being super judgmental. Because in general, I think what you'll find is you work on a project for a certain amount of time and suddenly you have an idea at the last minute. If that project was assigned to you at the last minute, you wouldn't suddenly have an idea. And if you were really so good under pressure, hold on, we'll wait for this plan. If you were really so good under pressure, you'd be able to solve every project in a day. But that's actually not the case. Subconsciously, you've probably been working on that problem the whole time, but your brain was getting in the way. What I used to tell people, and I don't believe this anymore, is set shorter deadlines for yourself. Set faster and shorter check-ins so that you impose that sense of fear or dread. But I actually don't think that works, because I think you know that the deadline that you're imposing on yourself is now fake. What I think is really important is you need to analyze what you're doing in that moment that suddenly allowed you to finish, and start embracing it earlier. You know, like maybe when you need to start a project, you need to not be worrying about whether an idea is good or not, and you can worry about having 5 crappy ideas and just finishing them. Because I think there's a really good chance that whatever idea you commit to at that 11th hour, it's not better than the other ideas you had. You just finally committed. The other thing is, some people, what they do is they screw up the process for the previous amount of time. They want to like skip past research and get right into designing something. And very often when they have that 11th hour breakthrough, it's because they finally did the right stuff at the right time. They finally stopped for a minute and did some research so that they could then analyze that research and have an idea. And then suddenly they had an idea. Again, you're not great under pressure. The pressure just made you finally do the right thing. The fear of failure made you finally do the project in the right way. I'm speaking from experience in this stuff. I'm speaking from what I have seen with students over the last 10 years. And I'm speaking from the space of like what I've watched with designers that I've worked with. I was the king of the last minute idea. Those last minute ideas were never better than all the other ideas. I just finally had to knock off the mental gymnastics and the bullshit that kept me from committing. So what you're doing is that it turns out at the last minute you're finally doing things the right way, and that might be turning your brain off, or it might be finally doing your due diligence in terms of your research and ideation process. So it's a thing to think about. Take it easy. Have a great Memorial Day for those of you in America.